On today's episode of Time About the Movies, Harry Potter is back in the conclusion of his story that began 10 years prior to this, actually, with the first movie, The Sorcerer's Stone, and how far he has come. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and then we still talk about one of the most baffling decisions in Disney history, and trust me, that's saying a lot. Let's release Winnie the Pooh's newest movie on the same weekend as the most anticipated movie of the year. Take a guess on how that turned out. I won't even sugarcoat it with you, but we'll eventually get to it when we start the show here. This is Time About the Movies for July 15th, 2011.
Harry Potter, you have allowed your friends to die for you, rather than face me yourself. Join me and confront your fate.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started. Together!
This film is not yet rated in theaters and IMAX 3D.
Welcome to Time About the Movies, where we come to the biggest weekend of the year, July 15, 2011, with two big new releases, at least one gigantic release. The other, we'll eventually get to it, because, you can already tell I'm riled up about this decision, but we finally have gotten to a weekend I've been waiting for ever since I started this show, but, let's begin, of course, with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And after the events of Part 1, Harry, Ron, and Hermione try to end Voldemort's plans once and for all, and the film leads up to the long-awaited battle between Harry and Voldemort where there can only be one. Here we are, born to be kings with it. Okay, I'm sorry, this is not Highlander, but where one of them, of course, can live forever. Even though that's literally the plot of Highlander, and yeah, a Highlander can live forever, and yeah. This is exactly what it's basically, essentially what this is what Harry Potter's basically come down to this moment here, and like I said, I said before that I wasn't the biggest Harry Potter fan when it first started. I didn't get into the books until very late on, and even then, I didn't read the books up until well after I watched the movies, and even the movies, I didn't really get into them until this movie came out in with Deathly Hallows Part 1. It's actually, I can't remember if it was Part 1 or Part 2. I think it was Part 1, actually, but as I was watching Part 2, I really I didn't see the other Harry Potter films up to that point, but despite how little knowledge I knew back then, I still really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And even now that I've seen all the Harry Potter movies and also the Fantastic Beasts films, which I would like to avoid those movies, but we'll eventually have to get to them in 2016, starting in 2016, but I still really enjoyed this. It's a very satisfying conclusion to this long-running franchise, and even though at that point I had only seen a couple of films, you still feel really emotional for the characters. These are very likable characters that you've come to know and love, and you really do get behind their cause and want to see them succeed at the end of the storyline. And like I said, because this is a two-part movie, obviously the first part's not going to be as good as the second part is. The second part, of course, has delivered everything that the first film probably was promising overall, but it's easily, not even arguably, easily the much better movie than the first film is. The special effects and the practical effects are nicely spliced together. The action sequences overall are still kick-ass. It's a very satisfying story combining all the elements from the previous films and tying up all the loose ends of the series, even though it doesn't go as chaotic as something like Spider-Man 3 where they try to tie up all the loose ends, but the story just goes way too over-the-top ridiculous, especially the dance scene with Peter, where he beats up Mary Jane for no particular reason. But this does a fantastic job at wrapping the series up and giving this epic end to a series that began 10 years ago and has completely gone a whole different direction than a lot of people were expecting when these films began. Remember, these films began as kids' films with Chris Columbus taking the helm, and the people in this movie when they were little kids, and people thought this was going to crash and burn, and it changed the game in terms of how to turn a best-selling book series into a blockbuster film franchise, and we've seen how that's done. The third act overall, I think, is one of the best third acts I've ever seen, maybe even better than Return of the King, and the final minutes perfectly sum up the entire series in general, wrap it up nicely, gives us a great and fitting end to these characters and to this series, and end it on a good note that we really don't need to see any more from this universe in general, but of course Warner Brothers wants more money because Harry Potter's their big cash cow. So of course, let's hire J.K. Rowling, who has never written a script before, to create a series that is completely irrelevant to what has been done beforehand with the Fantastic Beasts series, which, like I said, we'll delve more into that in a couple years' time, but all those movies are terrible. Even the first one was really such a major disappointment. I was expecting so much more from that after watching all the movies at that point. And, yeah, the Fantastic Beasts is a terrible franchise of films. Why do we even need it to be a franchise? Like, you could have just ended the series there, and it would have been perfectly fine. But no, we have to keep it going because the money that these things bring in, baby, that's pretty much all the reason why they did this. And, yeah, needless to say, those movies are terrible. But again, we will delve into those later on down the road. Let's praise the Harry Potter series itself because, yeah, the Harry Potter series itself is absolutely amazing. It's a series that has gotten better as the series goes on. As the kids get older, the stories get more intriguing and much more interesting. As the movies keep going, the darker elements start to come into play. It's no longer a kids' movie. It's a story that you're following from these young kids at the beginning to these adults dealing with adult problems, and it works very well to the T here. It's a very good movie. It's an incredible conclusion to the series. It's easily one of the best movie experiences of the year, and it does not fail on the hype that it built up. I mean, this is the perfect conclusion to the series in general, and because Harry Potter was so successful, everybody was going to do a two-part film for their conclusion from this point going forward. I mean, that's literally what they were planning on doing with Twilight, which we'll get to later in the year, which, again, another series that failed miserably at doing the two-part thing. Hunger Games did it too, which was much better than Twilight, but still not as good. But regardless, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is absolutely amazing. Now, if you're smart, you're not putting your movie anywhere near this film because, of course, this is going to gobble up the box office. Of course, everybody's going to want to go see this movie ASAP. You would be really, really stupid to put another film based off of another popular children's book from Britain in this slot here. And okay, I've built this up long enough. Let's talk about why releasing Winnie the Pooh on the same weekend as Harry Potter is one of the stupidest decisions in Disney history. And that's saying a lot.
I can see you're going to be rather feisty today.
I am known for my inspiring rhetoric.
Bliggity blue! Woo-hoo-hoo! A simple hello would do. Thank you very much.
There they are.
Christopher Robin!
We will have a contest to find a new tail for Eeyore.
Yes, well, the thing to do is issue a reward.
Gesundheit.
I beg your pardon?
You sneezed.
No, I didn't. The word is issue, not at you.
You must be catching a cold.
I'll probably catch it too.
So I could borrow some honey. Oh, just a taste. A small lick, I should think.
Silly old bear.
Just why? Of the stupidest decisions that you could do as a studio. You look at Harry Potter and you think to yourself, yeah, Harry Potter's going to probably clean up the box office, but you know what we could do? Let's go ahead and put Winnie the Pooh deep in the summer season, and when it flops, we can be just like, well, we don't know what we were doing. We're just really stupid by thinking about that. And yeah, it's unbelievable that Disney did this and completely botched this film's chances of making any money at the box office. Because, yeah, Not surprisingly, it crashed and burned. And you could make the argument that, well, if you released it, you could make the argument that, well, maybe Disney didn't know. It's just like, you're opening on the same weekend as Harry Potter, not just any Harry Potter movie, the conclusion of the Harry Potter franchise. And you're going to put this out there and be shocked when it doesn't do well. Yeah. I have a feeling that Disney did this on purpose. You know, you could have put this out in February with, like, the other Winnie the Pooh movies, and it would have still done a hell of a lot better at the box office. And I say it didn't do well, but, yeah, $50 million, it still made $50 million off of a $30 million budget. I mean, it's not like Disney's bigger 2D flops that they had at the time, you know, like Treasure Planet, or Home on the Range, or Brother Bear. Like, it's not onto those levels, but considering everything that Disney was doing at that time, when they were slowly but surely coming back after a rough start to the 2000s, you expect a whole lot more from that. And it's a real stupid decision to put this movie out on the same weekend as the most anticipated film of the year, and then be shocked when the film doesn't make any money. That's their fault for doing that. That's what is. If there's one thing I hate about this movie, it's not the movie itself. It's the decision by Disney to put this out in the middle of the summertime and then be shocked that it didn't do well. What did you think was going to happen? That's all the negativity I have towards this movie. Sort of. We'll talk more about that in just a second, but let's talk about the movie itself, because the movie itself is absolutely amazing. You got Winnie the Pooh, once again, voiced by Jim Cummings, Tigger, voiced by Cummings as well, Rabbit, voiced by Tom Kenny, which I'll get to him in just a little bit, Piglet, voiced by Travis Oates, Owl, voiced by Craig Ferguson, Eeyore, voiced by Bud Lucky from Toy Story 3, Kanga, voiced by Christina Anderson-Lopez, who will later go on to create some very memorable songs a couple years later in Frozen, and Roo, played by Wyatt Dean Hall, embarking on a quest to save Christopher Robin, played by Jack Bolter, from an imaginary culprit. The film is based on 3 stories from A.A. Milne's original stories. And this really was a fantastic movie. It was one of the more enjoyable experiences I had for a pretty mediocre summer when you really look back on it. It's such a good movie. And it's just great to see a 2D animated movie on the big screen again. Top-notch animation. They're going to put their best efforts into it. The voice cast overall is good. Jim Cummings is, I think, one of the great voice actors we have today. And of course, how can you go wrong with Craig Ferguson as Al? I mean, Craig Ferguson can make anything funny. Even in something bad, he can make something funny. And he's great as Al in this. The music is nicely done. There's great songs by Zooey Deschanel, who was going to have a big successful film later on in the series later on in the year with New Girl, which became a big hit for Fox. And I really do think she's very underappreciated, not just as an actor, but a singer too. And she does a lot of great versions of the Winnie the Pooh songs. The opening songs for this, the theme song, she's great doing the song for this. People forget that this woman can sing and be much more than I think people let on. You know, everyone just thinks of her as that woman who looks like a deer in headlights every single time in Elf or The Happening. Well, she's not that. She's much more than that. She is very entertaining, not just as an actress, but as a singer as well. Now, there are a couple things that did bug me a little bit. One of the things, as much as I like the voice cast, and as much as I love Tom Kenny's another one of those great voice actors, I really don't think he was suitable for Rabbit. Like, every time I hear Rabbit in this movie, the first thought I think to myself is, oh, that's SpongeBob SquarePants, or that's Cupid from the Fairly OddParents, because he literally sounds like Cupid from the Fairly OddParents. Just listen.
Might be something over by the park.
Oh, thank goodness one of us is up there. I was worried we'd be stuck here forever.
Yeah, I found something. Here.
What?
Oh, well, that's a lovely flower, Piglet.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yes, Piglet, it's very nice. Perennial. But I think we need something longer.
Longer? Of course. How silly of me.
Oh, good thought, Piglet. But you can't possibly think that that's long enough.
Oh, yes it is. Hal read this to me once, and it was certainly the longest thing I'd ever heard. Oh.
It's true, Rabbit. It lags a bit in the middle.
Oh, of all things, why didn't we think to bring a rope?
Oh, well, there is this rope.
Yeah, it should be a little more distinctive, or something that's not something we could figure out that, oh, this is that person. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I didn't think he wasn't bad in it, but it was very distracting right away. But in terms of negative things towards the film itself, one of them wasn't even really about the film itself. You know, they had a short that played at the beginning of this called The Ballad of Nessie, which I honestly thought was kind of boring. I mean, the animation looked nice, and you got Billy Connolly doing the narration for it. But besides that, I thought the story and the way it ended wasn't that impressive. It felt kind of like a waste of time. And the big thing that bothers me about this is that it's way too short. Like, I read that the film was supposedly feature like 5 different stories, and they had to cut it down to 3 stories. And because of that, this is only a 63-minute movie. This thing's barely an hour, barely an hour, honestly. You know, this is right up there with Land Before Time, but at least Land Before Time crammed in enough stuff to make it seem like that it wasn't like you were sitting there for only an hour. Like, as soon as you get to the hour mark, you realize that the credits are starting to roll. It's just like, is that it? That's really the end of the movie? And not including the short, which is that additional 6 minutes. So you get like a near 70-minute movie. And I really thought the film was going to be longer, but I don't know. I don't know if they thought that the 2 stories they were going to add in here weren't going to help the flow of the movie. But I really would have liked a longer movie in this case. It's one of the few times where I would say a longer movie would do this a whole lot better than just having it be this one movie that's literally an hour long. Like, it's 11:21 right now. I guarantee if I pop it on right now, I could be done by 12:30 at this point, which would make a whole lot of sense because 70 minutes time, but you get the idea. But one of the things I liked about the Winnie the Pooh stories is that they had never been updated or modified for the children of today. They usually have stayed the same from the very beginning. There was an exception in the Tigger movie segment for where they did the Family Tree song, where they had like satires of the Jerry Springer Show and just random pop culture references. This movie smartly doesn't do that, and I think that was the right way to go with it. It stays tried and true to the original Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which makes this kind of the second film in that Disney animated classics theme, which back then was actually pretty rare. You very rarely had a sequel in that list. I mean, the only one was The Rescuers Down Under, but then, of course, with Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph became big successes in Moana, of course they're going to start adding more to the list there, but this movie really is a terrific film, and I love the way that Winnie the Pooh has essentially stayed the same way as it's always been. I give credit to Disney for not trying to ever change the characters for a new generation like what Fox did with Alvin and the Chipmunks. I mean, those aren't the same Alvin and the Chipmunks that I grew up with as a kid, and even the people that grew up with them from the very beginning, back in the 50s, can look at the Alvin and the Chipmunks they had in these movies and be like, yeah, this is not the Chipmunks I grew up with. Hashtag not my Chipmunks if you want to go down that route, but this really was, Winnie the Pooh, though, really was one of the best movies I saw that year. It's a sweet, overall enjoyable movie. Despite the short running time, the movie is a lot of fun. The music is great. Seeing 2D animation on a big screen just makes it worth it in the end. It's the same old Winnie the Pooh we've come to love back on the big screen again. And it just feels right. It felt absolutely right. Everything about it felt right, except the placement. Like, seriously, what were you thinking putting this movie on the same weekend as Harry Potter? That's my last time I'm going to bring it up here, but it's a question that will still baffle me to this very day. Disney will make so many baffling decisions. They've made so many baffling decisions in their history in the past. They're going to make more in the future, guaranteed, but this is right up there with some of the worst decisions they've ever done. And trust me when I say, that's saying a lot. And so with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we take a look at the next Marvel movie character to get introduced. Chris Evans starring as Captain America, the first Avenger, the latest film in the MCU, directed by Joe Johnston, and also featuring Haley Atwell and Hugo Weaving, also starring as the Red Skull. Is it going to be better than Thor? Oh, absolutely. And I think you might be surprised at how I really feel about this movie, because I really enjoyed the hell out of Captain America, the first Avenger. But we'll save that for next time. We also have Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis starring in the second Friends with Benefits sex comedy, which is literally called Friends with Benefits. And we'll also take a look at Another Earth, directed by Britt Marling, who most people don't realize that she was kind of building a little repertoire of films at this point, and this is one of her first big wider releases, even though it's a limited release, but it's more well-known releases for most people. But 3 movies to take a look at next time around, and we will do that coming up on the next episode. That'll be tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and also don't forget to hit the playlist to check out the last episodes, to check out some of the other episodes we've done, and then you can check out the last episode we did up at the top. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.